hit back.
Welcome into the Be Different podcast. We have Andy Mack on the phone to talk a little Xavier hoops. And Andy, last time we talked, Xavier was in the gutter. There was no hope. We were looking on to next year, at least. Maybe not you, maybe not me, but everybody else was saying this Xavier team is done. Meanwhile, they went on a 3-game win streak. But I do have a question for you that I want to know, Andy. How nervous were you on Seton Hall's last possession in the ball game last night?
Well, it didn't look all that promising. I thought that Kevin Willard really helped out the situation by calling a timeout. I mean, he had 19 seconds to work with. I think he should have attacked. He gave Travis Steele, who was out of timeouts, he gave Travis a chance to marshal the forces and set up his defense. And the main defense was number 13 on number 13. Najee Marshall did a terrific job for 39 minutes plus on Miles Powell. I mean, he fought through every ball screen. He face guarded the guy. That was an unbelievable performance. And on that final possession, Najee took Powell right out of the play. That obviously was option number one. They got an open look from the right wing from that Xavier Reynolds. He's the guy who hit the game-winning shot against St. John's in the Big East opener at the Rock. And, Providence, I should say, Seton Hall came back from 12 down with 5 to play, and that gave it 176-74. And that Reynolds had the identical look, and he missed it long. Miles Cale got that offensive rebound. He was out of bounds, though, and he took a bad angle shot, and the ball game over. I think Xavier got a little lucky there at the end. I mean, it was obviously they were up 16 with 6:30 to play, but they never gave up the lead. And our boy Elias Harden contributed big time. He scored the game-winning layup on that press break, and he did some other good stuff. I just looked at the play-by-play. He played 20 minutes. He was a plus player. He drew 2 fouls. He had 3 rebounds. He scored 3. I mean, Elias is getting better. He's stronger with the ball now, so Travis can throw him out there. He's not going to just be a human turnover. I mean, Elias Harden, it doesn't look terrific on the stat sheet, but he played a big role in that game. He throws a nice pass, too.
Well, Najee had a huge game last night as well as Tyreek Jones. But how is Xavier pulling this off? I mean, you go back to the game at the Cintas Center, a loss to DePaul, and then all of a sudden Xavier goes on a run, down 5 to Creighton with about 1 minute and 20 seconds left. They pull off the win in overtime. And then you look at the schedule, you're thinking Xavier's going to Providence, Xavier's then going to Seton Hall. You think both those games are going to be losses based on how this team has been playing throughout the year. How have they been able to come up with these big wins, especially when you look at the 2 games this past week?
I think they've done it basically with defense. They gave up 61 in an overtime win over Seton Hall, 61 on the road at PC, and then 69 points last night at Seton Hall. And the Hall had been averaging 84 points a game on their home floor. So they've done it with great defense. I mean, they're giving up in that the 3-game stretch, they're giving up about 0.9 points per possession, which is excellent. I mean, the defensive efficiency is off the charts. And obviously, you mentioned Najee Marshall. In those 3 games, he scored 23-14. Last night, Najee had 28 points, hit 5 threes for the second straight game. And the defensive job he did on Powell was amazing. He was man up on him for 39-plus minutes, and Powell scored only 14 on 5 of 16 from the floor against Najee. But Najee went to the bench briefly, like for 30 seconds, and Powell had that 4-point play. And Steele couldn't get him back in the game quick enough. I mean, he was going to give him a little breather. I think Najee had just been knocked on the floor. He might have been a little winded or whatever. He got him right back in the game. I mean, Najee face guarded that guy, had no help defensive responsibilities. He just fouled him all, and they run Powell off a million screens. And Najee fought through every one of them, and he had the energy to score 28 points and 6 rebounds, 5 assists. I mean, this guy is a stud. Ed Cooley, when he gets around to his Pan American team down in Lima, Peru, he's going to ask that Najee Marshall make the trip. I mean, he's going to be there in the Pan Am games, that's for sure.
What about the play of Quentin Gooden? What do you make of how he has been over the last couple of days here?
I thought Gooden played a terrific second half in that victory at DC. He looked like the Quentin Gooden we saw lead this team to the Elite Eight as a freshman. The point guard on a number one NCAA team last year. He's gone through a lot of injuries this year. There's been, the crisis of confidence, learning to play effectively with Paul Scruggs. All this stuff's been going on. And, Q is a really smart kid. I think he is now a senior. He and Tyreek, they're still juniors technically, but they've played enough. They've been through enough situations where they are leaders now. Tyreek especially. And look at his numbers the last two games. On the road, 19 and 12 at PC. Last night he was 18 points, 14 rebounds. I mean, he's playing 30-plus minutes now. Q is he's still struggling a bit with his outside shots, and that's a function of missing all that time with the shoulder injury. I mean, I don't want anybody else as my point guard, that's for sure. I get sick of reading the stuff on the blog about Travis Steele being a poor coach, and Q being like overrated, or we should replace him, or he can't play. He's not a regular. Give me a break. That's just uninformed drivel.
All right, and Andy, there was a lot of action in the Big East last night. You mentioned to me before going on air that you watched every single game. So what does Xavier's win last night mean? Kind of give us a wider view, a wider lens of what the last few wins have meant for Xavier and what's going on in the rest of the Big East.
Well, Xavier overall, they're over. They've won 3 in a row. They're over 500 now. It's 14 and 13. Last night was what the NCAA NET calls a quad one win, as was the win at PC, just barely, but it was a quad one win. And now Xavier 14 and 13. They are 6 and 8 in the league, and the standings are really crowded. There were some good results last night. Both St. John's and Seton Hall lost. So they are tied for third at 7 and 7. Georgetown destroyed Villanova last night down in D.C. I think it was 85-73. Villanova looked like a tired team. I don't think they led at all in the ball game. They'll probably rehab and be revigorated for Sunday at Cintas. But the Georgetown is 6 and 7. They're alone in fifth. Xavier Butler, they're now tied for sixth at 6 and 8. And the Muskies have 4 games left, and all 4 probably, if they win them, would be quad one wins. I mean, they could get right back into and be on the bubble, and all that stuff is back in play now if they can keep racking up the W's. It's a tough schedule, a tough road to hoe, but they are relevant. It's a crazy Big East. I mean, out of the bottom 8, I think there are going to be 2 NCAA bids. Somebody's going to have to go here because of the power rating of the conference. I know things are down a little bit from years previous. They're not going to get 5 or 6 or 7 teams, but they're going to get 4. And Xavier right now is playing better than anybody of those 8 teams. I mean, Seton Hall came into the game playing very well. They'd won 4 of 5. Miles Powell was averaging 26 a game. They were getting great play from Kale and Mamu Kalashvili and all those dudes. And Xavier stuck it right up their collective behind last night until that late meltdown. And
you say Mamu Kalashvili very well, Andy. I got to credit you on that. I remember the first time that we played Seton Hall at the Cintas Center, I was very impressed with how you said his name. But once again, you come through. You do your homework, Andy.
Well, I do it phonetically, Brad. I could show you how I do it. Big letters, big block letters, a lot of hyphens, and I can figure it out. But you and I probably, not so much you, but I was the only one still on the bandwagon when they were 11 and 13.
No, you were definitely more on the bandwagon. I'll give you that. Much more on the bandwagon than I was. That's very fair to say.
Well, I'm a cockeyed optimist.
Yeah,
what can I say?
Why
they
I know
were
that.
11 and 13 going down at the head. The turnovers were at historic proportions. They still turned the ball over 17 times last night, but they won the game with that rock rib defense. The switch has gone on defensively for Xavier, and it's all effort. It's all scouting report details. It's all 2-hour practices. It's all, it's all work on the defensive end. But defense is portable. You can win on the road, neutral court, holidays, weekends, day games, night games if you dig in and play defense. You know, a guy like Paul Scruggs, he didn't have a great night. He had a bad night statistically last night, but at the end, he was on the floor. He made some great plays, especially on those scramble ball, 50-50 balls when he beat, you know, he and Miles Powell were fighting for the one, and it went back to Xavier on the possession. Same with against Mahmoud Kalashvili along the baseline. I mean, Scruggs he's struggling offensively right now, but he's contributing, and they're becoming a tougher team, and you know there's a lot of togetherness there, and the coaches have sort of tuned in, and they've got them playing together defensively, communicating, and it's resulting in some good results.
Yeah, team's continuing to fight. It would have been easy to give up. This does not look like a team that's going to give in at all. And you're right, on the defensive end has been really good. Najee Marshall, I thought, was spectacular last night. I mean, he went on the streaks offensively that we were hoping to see earlier on in the year. But if you can get a Najee Marshall playing like that on offense with the confidence that he showed in that game in the second half, Xavier's going to be really challenging to beat here down the stretch. Another team who go ahead.
They're getting the ball to Najee in the right spots, and he's worked very hard on his 3-point stroke, especially that short corner, dead corner shot, and he's been drilling that. They've been reversing the ball to him, and and spitting the ball out to him, and he's wide open. He can tee it up, and he's knocking those shots down. The 3-point shot from the wing is still a little problematic, but he's making some of those too.
All right, well, the game on Sunday, Villanova, we're all very familiar with Villanova and what they bring to the table. They have not been very kind to the Musketeers. What does Xavier need to do on Sunday at home to get another big victory?
Bring the defense again. Bring the defense. That's the rock rib key to the success they've been having lately. A 3-game winning streak is not a reason to break out the Rossi fireworks, but it's a heck of a lot better than it was. They deserve a lot of credit for that. They can't be awed by Villanova. And Villanova is still very good. They've lost 3 of their last 4, 3 straight road games. They're still dangerous as hell, but they don't have Bridges and Brunson and DiVincenzo and Omari Spellman. Those guys are all in the NBA. Wright's done a great job filling holes, but they're still, they took 38 3-point shots last night at Georgetown. They only made 8. You got to cover the 3-point line against these guys because they're going to jack it up from 3. They're going to shoot over 50% of their attempts are going to be from 3-point range. That's a given. They're not as good defensively because they're working in a lot of new people. They play more zone now. And if Xavier can be patient against that zone, they're going to get some great 3-point looks. And I think Najee Marshall has proven he can make his. And Scruggs, they got to get Scruggs back going and having confidence to take that shot because he's going to get some open looks. And Villanova's not as good rebounding those long misses that they used to be. They don't have Josh Hart. They don't have Bridges to patrol the middle and, kick it out and recycle that shot clock. And, you play defense for 33 seconds and they got the ball back and they hit some scramble open 3 after the offensive rebound. They still do that, but they don't do it as frequently. They're not as deep as they have been in the past, but they still got Pascal. They've got Booth, who's playing out of his mind. He had 26 last night. And Gillespie is the wild card. He's been playing really well until recently. I don't know if he's slightly injured, but he's been hitting the open 3 as the third offensive option. So they need to, keep an eye on all those guys. And the freshman Bay is playing pretty well for them, but off the bench. Joey Cremo, the grad transfer from Albany, has not scored the ball. He's a good player, but he's not stroking the ball the way he did with Albany. And there have been some injuries for them. They're not as deep. They're not as good, but they can certainly beat you. And Jay Wright, after losing 3 of 4, he's now, a half game behind Marquette in the Big East regular season race. He's going to have those guys. I mean, they're going to be running the steps at the pavilion, until whatever. I don't know. I mean, he's not going to it's not going to be easy practices for Villanova on their preparation for this game. Although, the history is not on Xavier's side, but that's all. Forget it. I mean, they're 1-11 against Villanova in the new Big East, but this is a great opportunity. They played it competitively against Villanova at Wells Fargo in Philadelphia earlier. It was closer than the 10-point game, but the X melted down late, and Villanova stuck a bunch of threes. I think that this is a game that is extremely winnable if Xavier focuses on the defensive end and plays patient, smart offense. Because Villanova used to get a lot of cheap baskets off that 1-2-2 three-quarter court press. They speed you up, they get the turnovers, they take it to the rim, dunk, layup. They don't do that as much anymore. They're really, really, really three-point dependent.
Andy, it sounds like you have not been able to watch enough tape in preparation for our pregame show on Sunday, which game is Sunday at 1 o'clock. Does that mean that I have to be in the Cintas Center at 12? Is that the time frame that I'm supposed to be there, Andy? I rely on you to make sure that I am getting to places on time these days.
Well, Brad, I question your reading skills, seeing that the game is at 1:30. It's on
I thought it was 1 o'clock.
Network.
I thought it was 1 o'clock. Well, then I won't be there till 12:30, maybe 12:45.
Well, you always cut it right down to the wire. I'm waiting to head to the stage at Duff's to do my carefully prepared preparation. No, you do a great amount of homework. It's always fun, and we only have 2 more Duff's remaining this year. We're going to do a post game down at Traditions at Cintas after Villanova, so we need a Xavier win to make that place lively.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we need it. 'Cause the last game that we did was which game? That was the Marquette game.
It was a hell of a game, but it was a loss.
It was and Xavier played really well until down the stretch, the last 10 minutes, Marquette started to take control, and Marcus Howard became Marcus Howard, and the Hauser brothers played very well too. And so our crowd wasn't as big as what I think it could be. If Xavier goes down, is able to beat Villanova, 4-game win streak, I like our chances of having more fans, right, and more content for that game.
Yeah, I'd say that's a safe bet, Brad. Let's hope for that. Win over Villanova Sunday. Maybe a record crowd going for 11,000 if they can squeeze in a lot of standing room, and the fire marshal takes the day off. Maybe we can get to the 11,000 mark at Cintas and have them hanging for the rafters. We need the extreme fans and the students to be totally vile. I mean, not totally vile, but clean vile. And GQ, Jay Wright's looking a little older now.
No, he's not. He still looks fantastic, Andy. He still looks great. He really does.
Back under his eyes. He is coaching his brains out to get this Villanova team to the promised land again. But it's not the same group. I mean, and it's a big adjustment when you lose 4 guys to the NBA. They're still very good. They're dangerous as hell. And Xavier's going to have to play well. And again, bring the defense and ratchet up that nasty rebounding box out domination inside.
All right. Well, Andy, I guess I'm happy for the players in this win streak as well as Coach Steele, but I even am more happy for you, Andy. I can hear it in your voice. You're stronger than I've heard you in a long time. You sound great. I wish I could see you in person because I bet you look great as well.
You don't want to look at me this morning, Brad, I'll tell you.
All right.
Not the prettiest night. As my wife said last night as I was watching the second half down in the basement, I tried to eliminate all noise. She said you sounded like a wounded animal.
Yikes. That is scary.
Seton Hall made that run. I mean, that's what they do, though.
Yeah.
Powell's a killer.
I can only imagine how you were acting and reacting in the last 5 minutes of the Seton Hall game there, Andy. I can only imagine. I don't really want to know.
There were some weird noises. There was definitely some abuse of the notepad that I was taking assiduous notes on. Man, that thing was shredded.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll just.
Hardin scored the bucket, the winning bucket for Hardin. Xavier never gave up the lead.
So, all right, Andy. Closing comments. You got anything? Anything you want to close on?
Anything I want to close?
Yeah, anything you want to close on here? What's that?
Hey, bring it on. Make it tough on that NCAA selection committee. I mean, it's going to be it's a tough schedule. It's Villanova home, then at St. John's, at Butler, and then senior afternoon, I guess it is, a couple weeks from now against the St. John's Red Storm. So tough schedule, but if this team continues to deliver the defense and the core four stays healthy, Hankins is playing better. I mean, he's contributing, and I think it's going to be interesting.
All right. Well, the game is set on Sunday, Andy. I will see you there. Thank you so much for calling in, talking Xavier Hoops, and that is Kicking It Old School with Andy Mack.